So over on the right, now green-red tokens. This is the Cryptolith right deck we've heard a lot about. We're going to get our first chance to see it. Derczo on the right with mono white. So for those of you who haven't seen this Cryptolith right deck, it is a tokens aggressive strategy, right?
Yes and no. You can make some tokens very quickly. You have Hangerback Walker and Catacomb Sifter. More than anything, you're trying to make a bunch of mana, cast Dragonlord Atarkas out of Fear's deck.
All right, so game underway. Derczo wins the die roll and is on the play and starts it off with a copy of, looks like Kythian there. He's going to go ahead and attack that in, Harlan down to 18, and play 2 more 1-drops. It's Expedition, Envoy, and Dragon Hunter. So 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, triple Savannah Lions. I feel like this is an old school strategy.
Yeah, the deck even has Glorious Anthem. No Armageddons to really punish Fear here, but this is a great start.
I don't even know if you'd want Armageddon against the Cryptolith right deck, to be fair.
If they have the right in play, it's going to be pretty bad for you.
So Harlan will make a 1-1 Hangerback Walker. It looks like it could be a blocker here. Now we'll see. Derczo does have the 3rd land, so with Kythian's activated ability, may or may not work. A swing with all 3 is what will be served up. Looks like Hangerback Walker will jump in front of Dragon Hunter.
It would be ideal for Michael if he had a Declaration in Stone or some such removal spell to just get rid of the Walker, but he's so far ahead that it's not super important at this point.
And Kythian will go up to 5, and it will mandate that the Hangerback Walker attack next turn.
We checked the type line on top Hangerback Walker. It's not a dragon, so the Dragon Hunter has hit the bin.
All right, the follow-up here is Consul's Lieutenant from Derczo. A full 4 of in Derczo's list for this weekend.
I think that was the one kind of omission that there was out of Pastor's deck last weekend. This is the second best 2-drop in the deck.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of praises sung about this one. So the Thopter will hit getting Kythian down to 4. Harlan follows up with a copy of Catacomb Sifter. So the one thing you can say about these green decks, they clog the ground pretty well.
Catacomb Sister just gets into combat favorably against any 2-1, and the 1-1 it brings with it kills the ones that don't have first strike. So an always watching is going to be very important for Michael here.
Let's go back over to Derczo. We'll see if he does have just that. He has an Expedition Envoy, so a 2-1 first strike in play, and the copy of Gideon. Now Gideon will turn into a creature and attack. Looks like nothing else is coming with it, so no combat trigger Ollie's watching in Derczo's hand. But the Gideon will deal 4, and Harlan will drop down to 10.
Yeah, having 2 more bodies, which is about the only thing that the white deck could have outside of lands, is a really good start. There's a lot of pressure on Fear here to have another copy of Catacomb Sifter or just some more bodies to gum up the ground. Still a bit of a ways off of casting a Dragonlord Atarka.
So another Council's Lieutenant made there. Along with up here is Town Gossip Monger.
This is the last call for the 3 p.m. Legacy Challenge. If you'd like to sign up and haven't done so yet, this is your last call to register.
So a lot of creatures in play. We go back over to Harlan. It'll be Beastcaller Savant. Casting and using the Scion to cast another Beastcaller Savant. He'll get a Scry. So ramping up with mana here. And he does have Cryptolith right in play for the turn as well. So that's where those Scions really shine. They tap for mana and sack for mana.
We may not be as far off of Dragonlord Atarka as
right.
I suggested. That could very well be the play next turn.
Yeah, Elvish Visionary cast as well. So you see these creatures really powering out now up to 5 creatures in play for Harlan. He even has the luxury to chump block a couple of times, get some scries off here, and if he can find that Atarka, he could clean up quickly. All those creatures on Michael's side have 1 toughness.
Yeah, and at this point, the Catacomb Sifter giving the scries every time that a chump block happens digs him closer to that Dragonlord Atarka, which would break this game wide open. Tons of 1 toughness creatures in play and a Planeswalker for her to attack.
So we go back to Derczo. He's gotten half of Harlan's life total taken care of. He's down to 10, but the other half looks like it's going to be tougher to make inroads on. Harlan with plenty of blockers and plenty of mana for next turn. There could be up to 5 attackers, though, and it looks like it's going to be just that for Derczo. Turns Gideon into a creature, attacks with the team.
Looks like we're hanging back the Gossip Monger to potentially transform it this turn as well.
Sure, so maybe he has a follow-up creature here.
If it wasn't always watching, it would be on the table.
Yeah, that's for sure. So Catacomb Sifter is going to take care of a Council's Lieutenant. Harlan is deciding where to put the Elvish Visionary, and it looks like he's going to put it in front of Council's Lieutenant.
The choice was between, you had the Lieutenant to stop it from becoming renowned, the Gideon to soak up the most damage, or just trading with the 2-1.
Trading reason for all of them, huh?
Right, exactly. Trading has a pretty high incentive, but you end up saving the most damage long term by getting in front of the Lieutenant, stopping them from attacking profitably into Catacomb Sifter.
Yeah. Harlan will drop to 4. Well, it looks like what his plan is to use this 2/3 Catacomb Sifter to somewhat eat Derczo's creatures while he chump blocks away at the Gideon.
Exactly. I don't often refer to cards like Thraben Inspector as the perfect follow-up to a combat.
Yeah, that's going to be... Well, it's okay here. He plays it, makes a clue token, has 2 mana up, and will get to transform his Gossip Monger.
That's what I'm saying. It's perfect. It draws a card and upgrades the other creature.
It looks like Harlan will cast another Hangerback Walker. This time it's on 2. So he has a lot of mana, but maybe he doesn't have that finisher just yet.
That is not the kind of payoff card he's looking for. And in fact, it's just going to be Dragonlord of Tarketh out of the deck. There's no Zendikar Resurgence. There are some Nissa Voice of Zendikars, which would be quite good on this board, but not really a game breaker.
Yeah, so we see here Town Gossip Monger becomes Incited Rabble on Harlan's end step. And that is something about the Cryptolith Right decks, is while they, on the surface, might look like a combo deck, they play a lot more like a tokens deck. If it's a combo deck, you would be looking for that big payoff, and they do have a Tarkas, but that's about it.
Right. The Sifter helps you find them, so that does forgive you a little bit for only playing 3 big payoff cards, and it's doing a pretty reasonable job of just playing Magic the Fairway.
Derczo finds a 4th land. He's going to activate Gideon, and the whole team will come across. And we'll go over to Harlan and see just how he blocks this. It's going to be Catacomb Sifter in front of Council's Lieutenant. Looks like a Beast Caller Savant will trade with the Envoy. Another one will chump block the Rabble.
That is the one thing about the Incited Rabble. It does have to attack every turn, and just attacking with it is not a very profitable attack. So it offers a high incentive for Michael to just turn the entire team sideways.
Yeah, and I'm actually impressed on just how big this card is. So it's a 2/3. It can become all up to a 4/3 if Michael puts mana into it. It demands a block.
Definitely.
Yeah, it looks like Hangerback Walker where the bottom there is blocking Gideon. So the damage will be Council's Lieutenant dies. Both Beast Caller Savants die, Expedition Envoy dies, and then the Hangerback on 2 dies and makes 2 Thopters. You see some scries here for fear. Remember, thanks to Cryptolith Right, all these cards make mana.
Yeah, we really are looking for exactly Dragonlord of Tarketh here. If the deck was just kind of tokeny, you might be inclined to keep something like an Elvish Visionary on top, which he did scry to the bottom.
It's possible he could keep if he gets stabilized here, he could keep a Hangerback Walker. He has the mana to make it very large.
True.
And it looks like the counter swing here from Harlan. He's going to activate his Hissing Quagmire, and the land and 2 Thopters will take the Gideon off the battlefield. And Harlan will play a Loam Dryad.
Given the absence of Griff's Boon from Michael's deck, I think that Harlan may have just turned the corner.
Getting that Gideon off the table is very big. That 4/4 attacker was the one piece he wasn't able to block.
Right, the Rabble just has to run to its own death here.
All right, Incited Rabble will attack. It's a 2/3. Harlan will put Loam Dryad and Catacomb Sifter in front of it. Derczo will pump the Rabble up to a 3/3, but that just trades with the Sifter. And Dragon Hunter is the follow-up for Derczo, but you're right. A 1/2 and a 2/1 now against this swarm of Thopter tokens. It looks like Harlan may have turned a corner.
Definitely. None of the Thopters nor the Loam Dryad are dragons. This Hunter is quite blockable in this board state.
3 Thopters make an attack as Harlan passes back. He has a Loam Dryad back to block along with his Hissing Quagmire.
Hissing Quagmire put in some work this game.
Always watching is the play from Derczo. That's a big draw. So here comes Dragon Hunter and Thraben Inspector. Harlan is at 3, you have to remember.
Right.
So that Dragon Hunter's lethal. It's going to be blocked. Looks like by Hissing Quagmire.
Has to for sure make that block. Has an option of whether or not to chump the Inspector.
Yeah, he can chump the Inspector or go to 1. Now, since Derczo's a white deck, going to 1, he doesn't have to fear being burned.
Right, and he doesn't know that Derczo doesn't have Griff's Boon. He's dead to that one way or the other, block or no.
Now, it looks like Harlan chooses to go to 1. And here come Thopters again. Now, he's got to be very careful here. He can't actually... Well, never mind. He plays another Cryptolith Rite. I was going to say he can't activate the Hissing Quagmire now, but because of those Cryptolith Rites, the Loam Dryad actually can make black mana here.
Right, without tapping another creature.
Right.
It is somewhat curious to me that Harlan is attacking with all the Thopter tokens with the potential for a Griff's Boon hanging out.
And it is a swing by Derczo. He flashed in Stasis Snare to get rid of the Loam Dryad, but then Harlan was able to trade off the Quagmire with the Thraben Spectre. Now, back me up here. If Michael had waited until Harlan activated the creature land, the Stasis Snare could have won Derczo the game.
Yeah, he could remove the creature land. I believe you're able to hit that with the Snare. The Dryad was tapped.
Well, assuming Harlan goes for the activation, yes.
Right.
So go back over to Fearside. He plays Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, that pumps the team up to 6 power. And they'll swing once, swing twice. Derczo goes down to 2. A plant is in play as a blocker. And we go on to game 2 at 1 life. Harlan Fear takes the game.
Barely held on there. That early Gideon Planeswalker, the flipped Kithian, the fresh Gideon, not the 4-mana Gideon, was very impactful in that game, but not enough to get all the way there.
So a close one there. Looking back at that game, I see why this could actually be a tougher matchup from the green-black tokens deck. It seems like it took a lot of work for Harlan to stabilize on that board.
Right, the Catacomb Sifter specifically, and even just the extra cards off of Elvish Visionary did matter a lot there. He does have some cards that are quite good in this matchup. We didn't even see Blister Pod show up. That could have been very important. But if Derczo just had a turn 3 Always Watching, that might have not even been a game.
Yeah, and you do have to watch out. Looking back, yes, Stasis Snare actually can hit creatures that are lands. It does not have the non-land. It's just exile target creatures. So there may have been an out for Derczo in there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the sideboards. We'll start over at Michael Derczo's side. He has a second copy of Westvale Abbey. He does have the Griff's Boons you're mentioning. They're over in the sideboard.
Perfect. Along
with Felidar Cub, Hallowed Moonlight, Silk Wrap, Stasis Snare, Lantern Scout, some Gideons, and some Archangel of Tithes.
So the Griff Boons, I think, definitely should be coming up here. There's so many blockers on the ground. Silk Wrap seems fine. The removal's not very exciting in this matchup, actually. There's just going to be tons of creatures. You could be trying to clever and bring in Hallowed Moonlight against Hangerback Walker, but there's not a ton that's very, very good here. The Archangel of Tithe is a flyer. It's not great at stopping Harlan's game plan, but it does fly over, so I do like that one as well.
Right, I mean, and that's the thing, when this green-black tokens deck is slow, well, it is medium pace, but you're right, it doesn't deal well with flyers. I think anything that flies is possible. Now, do you like the other copy of Westvale Abbey here?
Yeah, again, flyers being so good, that seems to come in just fine. It helps you get to 4 mana to cast the Archangel, that's coming in as well.
Now, I love Harlan's sideboard here because of just some of the cards we see. Natural Slate, Duress, Ultimate Price, those I expect. And then he has 3 copies of Bone Splinters and Evolutionary Leap. So in a tokens deck, those seem really appealing. Do you think he wants any of them here?
You might bring in Bone Splinters. I don't know if you necessarily know if Derczo's curve stops at 2 or 4. You could expect the Archangel of Tithes to come in, so the removal spell seems quite good there. Mostly we have some natural states, which I think you just have to bring in to deal with the always watchings. Ultimate Price, so you should definitely... That removal spell makes a lot of sense, because it's just a free roll. You just cast it and it's good.
All right, it's probably getting ready for Game 2. So as we end Season 1 here at the Invitational, 2 weeks from now we start Season 2. If you want to make your way out to a Star City Games Open, we'll be heading over to Milwaukee as we start our new season. You and I will be there covering the Modern Open. And we have the rest of the schedule for Season 2 up as well. So we'll make our way across the Midwest through Milwaukee, Indianapolis, before we head south to Atlanta, Orlando, Dallas, as we go on. Then up east as we end the weekend and end the season with Worcester, Columbus, Baltimore, the Star City Games Regional Championships at the beginning of August, and then Syracuse before our Season 2 Invitational, which is August 19th through 21st in New Jersey. Now, we also have some new things to announce for the tour. That one of the things is the playmats which we've been giving out. Normally we'd had the same playmat for every event. Will now actually depend on the event you're entering. So we have 3 different playmats for Season 2. If you look at them. For Standard, it's Sigarda Heron's Grace. It's the new mythic rare out of Shadows over Innistrad, playable in Standard, so therefore it's our Standard playmat.
Makes sense.
For the Modern events, we have Ghost Quarter. Now this is a great card for Modern, except I strongly advocate you don't play it because it gets rid of all the fun things that I like to do in the format. We get this for all our Modern opens. And for Legacy, this is another, a great deck of Legacy, Death and Taxes. It's going to be Thalia, which is on the art for our Legacy events.
Speaking of stopping fun things, Thalia lines up perfectly with the theme of these playmats.
So get these exclusive playmats with any entry into Season 2 Open or Classic on the given weekend. Right back to our match. Both players down to 6 cards here. We have Michael Derczo versus Harlan Fear.
It's hard to say exactly who a mulligan favors in a matchup like this. Having access to Elvish Visionary in your opener kind of helps you unmulligan, especially when it actually just blocks with creatures.
So for Harlan Fear, looking for that Players' Championship slot, he, from Charlottesville, Virginia, the 21-year-old, has 3 Open Series top 8s as well as an Open win. Came onto the scene as a player who hybridized the Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck and then the Jeskai Ascendancy tokens deck at the same Open. It was really innovative. He got notched his Open win there. Part of Next Ridge Games, the team here, he's really looking for that spot in the Players' Championship. With a strong run this weekend, it is definitely possible. And you see, one of the things about him, donates his hair after it reaches a certain length, and has quite the locks to do it with, I would have to say.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure that there are some people that very much appreciate that hair donation. It's a really cool thing to do. My hair's not nearly that long, and, well, I won't speak to your situation.
I grow hats. When my hats get too big, I donate them.
Who do you donate those to? What is the organization that accepts hat donations?
It's the Make-A-Wish hat division.
Make a Hat Foundation.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there in need of hats, and I do my part.
There's also the subsection of Gamers Helping Gamers, Hats Helping Gamers. Have you ever donated with them?
I haven't heard of them, but they sound like a really great organization.
Yeah, definitely. It helps give hats to younger gamers that are trying to get into college, but don't have the fashion sense to get in on their own.
That makes sense. I would love to learn more about it.
Yeah, you can check them out.
I need to do my research before, with my charitable donations. But this does, on the surface, I have to say I'm interested.
Yeah. You always want to do research before donating to charity. Make sure you're finding the one that's best for you, the cause you support the most.
It certainly sounds like a good cause.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with the Make a Hat Foundation.
Harlan Fear, mulliganing to 5 here. He will be on the draw for the second game. One thing I do like about his deck is, with cards, so many creatures like Loam Dryad and Cryptolith Right, I would think there's a lot of very keepable 5s.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of redundancy in your deck. It doesn't take that many lands to get going. The worst thing that he can really see here is between 3 and 5 lands in his 5-card hand.
Yeah, I mean, a 2-lander is pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
And with that, we're underway. Derczo on 6, Harlan on 5. So plains for Derczo, no 1-drop. That's actually somewhat significant.
Indeed.
And for Harlan Fear, it's Loam Dryad. For those of you who haven't seen the card, Loam Dryad, a 1/2 for 1. It has the Springleaf Drum ability, would be the shortest way to say it. You can tap it and another creature to make a mana of any color.
Also in this matchup, a veritable Seal of Doom.
Yeah, this trades with a lot of Derczo's cards. And he will Silk Wrap away the Loam Dryad.
Also a Think Twice. What a flexible card.
Elvish Visionary from Fear. That'll help him get back off that mulligan. He draws a copy of Foundry of the Councils. It's a 1-of in his deck. Looks like he has that and Westvale Abbey. I know he has a Nissa in hand. I think Nissa and Catacomb Sifter. He may actually just have too many colorless lands at the moment.
That'd be quite awkward. Nissa here would be great to get in front of that Lieutenant.
Yeah, second Westvale Abbey, Hangerback Walker on 1. Go from Fear. That Loam Dryad doing work, or would have done work had it not been Silk Wrapped.
Yeah, having a creature that could actually double up to get in front of this Lieutenant would have been great. Now this Lieutenant is actually going to do some work.
Yeah, Derczo Silk Wraps away the Hangerback Walker. And attacks. Harlan does not want to let that renown happen, so he chump blocks with Elvish Visionary. And Derczo's follow-up was a Thraben Inspector. So Harlan's still trying to tread water, draws another Elvish Visionary. That gets him a card. That finds him his second green source in a forest. So it'll be a turn late, but starting next turn, he'll have some of these weapons online.
It is unfortunate that there was nothing to do with that forest this turn. Might make him fall quite a bit behind to this Consul's Lieutenant as more creatures entered the battlefield for Michael.
Michael will crack the clue, swing in, and Harlan chumps again on Consul's Lieutenant. Now he's doing all these aggressive chump blocks because he's trying to, I believe, set up Catacomb Sifter.
Yeah, then the Catacomb Sifter would be able to catch the Lieutenant. It would never have been renowned. And there it is.
Yeah, so Catacomb Sifter for Fear, leaving up double colorless. On Derczo's side, he made another Thraben Inspector last turn. So his board is a pair of 1/2s and a Council's Lieutenant.
And it's not just the Lieutenant that gets out of hand when it becomes renowned. Even these Thraben Inspectors become very real threats on their own.
And Declaration in Stone takes care of Catacomb Sifter. That's a big commitment there by Fear, or rather by Derczo. If Fear has 2 colorless mana open.
Well, you know, he can draw the card, but it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, a swing of the creatures. Harlan chump blocks the Council's Lieutenant yet again, draws a card. For Derczo, it's a third Thraben Inspector.
Perfect. I will say for Derczo, this game plan of aggressively just playing to the board, it's going to make some of Fear's top decks even worse. Nissa, for example, is not very good on this board.
Yeah, there's too many 1/2s. He's going to try for it. Here's Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. She'll make 1 plant token to block, and Fear will pass. He has a Llanowar Wastes and 2 colorless lands up.
Have to figure that that plant is going to jump in front of the Lieutenant given the opportunity.
Yeah, it looks like Fear has another copy of Nissa in hand. So he can chump block for a while, but gaining ground on this board appears like it may be tough. And this is a huge draw from Derczo. It's a copy of Thalia's Lieutenant. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on all humans you control. There is 4 of those for Derczo.
No assembly required on this one, unlike the Lieutenant.
Wow, and suddenly the army of 1/2s becomes 2/3s. The Lieutenant is a 3/2, 6 damage. Screaming across the battlefield. Fear at 7, facing lethal next turn. It's another Nissa from Fear.
You know you're in a tough spot when you have a Planeswalker and your opponent says, I'm going to attack you.
Yeah, it's...
That 0/1 plant token's not going to do enough on this board.
And this has been a valiantly fought mulligan to 5 for Harlan, but may have come to an end here as he packs them in for Game 3.
I think he played it quite well, keeping those Consul's Lieutenant off renowned, but just wasn't able to piece together a board in a way that could become advantageous. Being off a double green for the Nissa on those early turns really being what did him in.
Well, and that showcases some of the power of the mono white deck. It's not common that you get to be a deck that plays a lot of 1-drops and then gets to have plentiful amounts of 2 mana hard removal, which is exactly what Derczo did, right? He Silk Wrapped a Loam Dryad to take Harlan off mana. Then he Silk Wrapped away Harlan's next blocker as well, and eventually Declaration and stoned away the Catacomb Sifter. Harlan needed these creatures to stop the attacks and just wasn't able to do it.
Definitely, and getting rid of the Loam Dryad also kept Fear off that second green. So that was a huge swing.
So I know that you're a big fan of Elvish Visionary just in all your decks. Now I have to ask here, Elvish Visionary is on one side, but what are your thoughts on Thraben Inspector? That's an honorary Elvish Visionary, isn't it?
It's a little less efficient, though you do get to spend the mana on the clue token later. Which is a nice step up.
It's a 1/2 instead of a 1/1?
Right. Initially, it was a card that I didn't think very much of when I saw it. Tom Ross started writing about it and speaking very highly of it, and I am loath to say it's probably just a better card.
It certainly was impressive that game, that Michael was able to tread water with Thraben Inspectors and then all of a sudden play Thalia's Lieutenant and have them all be very relevant. I was impressed.
Yes. And just the ability to cast it, draw another card. The 1/2 is not dramatically worse than the 12/2/1 creatures that you're playing.
Yeah, you just move 1 number over to the other side.
Right. And this one draws a card. Doesn't just die when it gets into combat with Loam Dryad.
Yeah, instead it bounces off Loam Dryad.
Right.
You mentioned about Tom Ross writing about this stuff. If you want to stay abreast of all the most recent technology here that Star City has to offer, you can subscribe to the StarCityGames.com newsletter. It's your source for Match Together news. This is free. So StarCityGames.com/newsletter. You'll get the latest on the SCG Tour every week. You'll get links to our Match of the Week. You can get exclusive deck lists and advices from Star City Games columnists, stuff that's not available on the regular website. You can get all that event results and exclusive comics. All this is free, so there's really no reason to not sign up for this. You can find out more, though, StarCityGames.com/newsletter. You just type in your email address, and then you're good.
Yeah, it's free. You have the URL right there. What are you doing? You got 10 seconds. Click it.
Yeah. Harlan Fear 6th right now in the Players' Championship race. Now he needs to get up to 3rd this weekend. It's a tall order.
It is a lot of points to jump, but there's a lot of points to be had at the Invitational.
Right, there's a lot of points. So for Harlan, he is looking with a top 16 finish. He's setting himself up to maybe get one of those Players' Championship slots. You look here, what's on the line. So Harlan has some distance to make for the Players' Championship here, about 10, 15 points out of the conversation. So if you look at that, what that means is he's going to need a top 32, probably a top 16 finish. But look at all these points going out to people in the Players' Championship. A top 16 finish, 20 points. Harlan's now in the conversation to getting one of those top 3 spots, especially if the player's ahead of him. And we're looking at Andrew Tenjum, Bradley Carpenter, and Jerry Thompson. If one or more of them fall, this is an opening for him.
Yes. So a lot of pressure on even players further down the leaderboard. I'm sure that Fear is feeling that in his nerves. Definitely has worked on his deck since last weekend for this reason.
Yeah, I mean, especially what you have to look at is if one of these players top 8, there's so many points in this top 8 that if any of those players on page 1, even going all the way down to Todd Anderson in 8th place, a top 8 finish could be enough to catapult any one of them into the Players' Championship.
Oh yeah, those top 8 points are just, the difference is massive, the number of points you can get. Particularly a 2nd place finish and leapfrogging some of these people, that would feel really bad if you're Tenjum or Lisette and you get jumped by somebody who picks up 40 points this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and talking to players like Andrew Tenjum about it, he's currently sitting in 3rd. He has that spot before the Invitational. I think he knows how fragile that lead is because of the Invitational this weekend.
Right. Tenjum definitely knows that he's far from a lock. He's nowhere near Hoagland's situation on that leaderboard.
Yeah, Jeff is probably the only player who I think can sleep easy that he'll be in the Players' Championship this December.
If he makes day 2, I think he's actually just a hard lock.
Yes. Yeah, and even without it, it is unlikely that he can lose that lead.
Right.
He top 8'd every Modern Open for Season 1.
Yeah, really impressive stuff with Kiki Cord.
Yeah, I know. Did that in Season 1 and without playing Eldrazi.
That's wild. I can't imagine not playing Eldrazi when it was legal.
I bit the bullet. I played Eldrazi. I felt like I wanted to be part of Magic history, you know?
Yeah.
During that 3-month period.
A historic villain that you could have joined the team of.
For Harlan, it looks like he's going to go back to the drawing board, a mulligan for him here.
I've always said that I don't entertain the possibility of a zombie apocalypse, but hypothetically, if it happened, I'm not one of those guys that plans it, but if it happened, I'd play for the zombies. They're
what
going
does that mean? Does that mean
to win.
Does that mean you just let yourself get bit?
Yeah, you know, you just like go about your life and you're going to get hit by a zombie on the way to the supermarket or something.
So as a human, does that mean what does working for the zombies mean, or playing for the zombies?
Well, you join the endless ranks of the dead. You do what zombies do. You eat people, make them into more zombies. It's a pretty easy lifestyle. The management is not very harsh. Pretty lenient on what you're able to do as a zombie.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any, I'm not sure who your superior is in the zombie hierarchy. I'm not positive you have one.
It's definitely not the humans, I can tell you that. I played for Team Treasure Cruise. That was a good team.
Yeah, before that one got banned. That was about a little over a year ago. I never did was never on Treasure Cruise.
It was a delight.
I was still doing Summer Bloom at that time, which, it's another band card.
Yeah, you were still a bad guy, but not the bad guy.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was on Team Deathrite Shaman before that one got banned. I know, right?
This conversation got weird.
All right, Harlan Fear keeping 6. He starts out on Blister Pod. For Derczo, well, it's a very convenient blocker. He'll play his 1/2 for 1. It's a copy of Thraben Inspector. And for Harlan Fear, here starts the deck. Turn 2, Cryptolith Right, tap Blister Pod to cast Blister Pod.
Yeah, this is a great start. We could see as early as a turn 4 Dragonlord Atarka for Fear, seeing depending on how the draw actually shapes up.
Now, Derczo's not out of it were that to happen. He does have removal. He has Stasis Snare and Declaration in Stone that could theoretically take care of an Atarka.
Right. Declaration in Stone here, even on the Blister Pods, would be a big swing.
No kidding. Swing by Thraben Inspector and a follow-up Council's Lieutenant are the plays for Derczo. So you go back over to Fear. His draws Foundry of the Councils, and he'll play a copy of Nissa. She will make a plant token, and he'll pass. Has some mana available here. Only 1 card remaining in Fear's hand.
I like the plant quite a lot. If you make your Blister Pods into 2/2s, you can jump in front of the Lieutenant, but then you just get eaten by first strike. You get a 1/1 for your troubles, but it's not very good. And also, if Michael just has a Declaration in Stone, you're in a lot of trouble.
Well, what I think is going on here is Harlan's last card is a second copy of Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. So he's trying to set up some critical mass to then throw counters onto. Not to mention, with that Cryptolith Right, cracking the Foundry of the Councils is not unreasonable here. But Michael's going to make the play you just mentioned here. 2 mana, Declaration in Stone will turn both Blister Pods into clue tokens.
That swing is huge.
Now, what he's going to do is, in response, he's going to tap them both to make 2 mana, then crack a clue token to draw a card.
Right. Very intelligent to do so.
He draws a copy of Llanowar Waste. Now we will get some attacks. It is at Nissa. Harlan, just like last game, is going to chump block that Council's Lieutenant again.
With Michael not having another 1-drop here, this could actually start to go Harlan's way, even with that big Declaration in Stone.
Yeah, Harlan draws a card off the second clue token, draws another land. He'll play Loam Dryad. He'll make a plant. Things are okay here. Loam Dryad can block Thraben Inspector. Plant can block Council's Lieutenant. And Michael's going to go back to the drawing board of his own. He'll crack his own clue.
When your opponent cracks a clue at sorcery speed with not very many lands in play, that's a very good sign for you. We saw Derczo not play a 1-drop last turn.
He'll play Westvale Abbey, and he will Silk Wrap the Loam Dryad. So the turn events ends up being pretty good here for Harlan. It looks like he's going to block Council's Lieutenant again. Nissa will go down to 3. So he'll have to redo last turn. And maybe he can do it in a big way. It looks like he has a copy of Hangerback Walker.
That was a huge pickup, especially after 2 exile effects were just cast. How many more could Derczo realistically have?
Hangerback on 2 is the play for Fear. We'll see if he makes it 3 or whether he makes a plant. It's going to be a plant. He'll pass back, still trying to stabilize, but he is making those land drops.
Plant makes a ton of sense. For as unlikely as exile effect might be, here it is. It's huge when he does have it.
Silk Wrap again on the Hangerback Walker. And these Silk Wraps and Declaration in Stones, this is the second game in a row we've seen Michael fire off 3 kill spells with pressure on the board. They've been doing a great work against this green-black deck.
What Derczo really needs is another threat.
Well, here he has one. It's Council's Lieutenant.
Fear might have drawn the perfect foil,
Yeah,
though.
I know. How much removal does Derczo have? We'll find out. His draw is a copy of Catacomb Sifter. That one's going to make a Scion. We'll see if Harlan pumps them or whether he continues to make plants.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward if you use the Anthem this turn with the intention of casting Nissa again next turn. You're leaving 1 loyalty on the table. I like making a plant here.
And he's going to now go for pumping the team. So 2/2 Scion, 3/4 Catacomb Sifter. He's challenging Michael to have a 4th kill spell.
The 2/2 Scion does get in front of Thraben Inspector, so that there is some ground gain there.
Yeah, Nissa down to 1. And if Council's Lieutenants are attacking Nissa, they're not getting Renowned.
Right.
Now, how much do you think, does Harlan have to be concerned? We have a Westvale Abbey and 3 creatures in play on the mono-white human side of the board.
Yeah, we're shy a Manosaurus. There's the Manosaurus. We're shy 2 creatures, and the Abbey does produce creatures on its own.
But big window for Fear. There was no attack, and now we go back to Harlan's side. He's going to play Elvish Visionary. That'll draw him a card. Draws him a land. Nissa's going to plus make a plant. Now he's going to play another Nissa. Legend ruling his first Planeswalker. She's going to put a 1/1 counter on everything. This is getting quite scary.
There is a ton of pressure on Fear to actually kill Derczo, though, or at least force him to start chump blocking.
Abbey?
Right.
Yeah, and you see he's swinging Catacomb Sifter. Now it has 5 toughness. It can swing past to the wall of Council's Lieutenant. And Derczo is going to use Westvale Abbey to make another creature. And that's where you were talking about that pressure. I mean, Derczo said didn't have creatures. Well, Westvale Abbey does that for you if you're given enough time.
Right.
A draw here from Derczo. So he could, as soon as his next turn, be attacking with Ormondal.
Tragically, no possible way to do it this turn outside of having a land and a 1-drop, which I don't believe that he has.
Well, we'll see. Here's the land. Derczo, he's got to be concerned. I think he's going to count this one out.
There's also some concern if you're just sitting back with Ormondal. Fear could potentially just kill you even with it blocking 1 creatures.
Right.
If you're attacking with it, Fear has a Foundry of the Consuls that could get in the way for 2 turns.
Yeah, now it does have lifelink.
It does have lifelink, though Fear has a ton of power on the board right now, and that number is only getting higher.
Big draw here from Derczo. He had to decide between whether or not he wanted to make a 1/1 or cast this card. He went for the card, which is a copy of Always Watching.
Okay. It makes it so it's very unlikely that Derczo is going to be making chump blocks. The Nissa can't Anthem on the following turn.
Wow, and a swing with 2 Council's Lieutenants. Harlan is going to appear to be chump block both the Council's Lieutenants. Well, there's a double block. So 1 Lieutenant dies, 2 of Harlan's creatures die. A big swing back for Derczo. And the follow-up is a 3rd copy of Council's Lieutenant.
Given that additional Consul's Lieutenant, I actually like that attack quite a bit. He's not behind on the clock for making Abbey. Technically a turn behind over just making a token and flipping it the next turn, but it's not clear that line would be good enough, and I don't believe it would be.
This one's really interesting. So Elvish Visionary was the draw for Harlan. He's going to cast it, draw a card, make a plant token. Now he drew a copy of Natural Slate here. So he could really bait out an attack. If he swings with Catacomb Sifter here and Derczo blocks with the First Strikers, for example, this Natural Slate is really going to blow out Derczo. Could win him the game.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get Derczo to be aggressive.
Yeah, he's going to just pass the turn. So making it seem like, yeah, I have nothing.
Right. His creatures aren't very good at blocking if Derczo just chooses not to block and attack back, even without the Always Watching in play.
Right. There is some give and take here. Now, one thing is that Harlan has left up enough mana to activate the Foundry of the Councils because of the Cryptolith Right.
Right.
But he's gonna have to do a lot of work. Here's Thalia's Lieutenant putting 1/1 counters on all the humans in play. So never mind 1 Always Watching. How about 2 Anthem effects?
Still a little bit shy of actually breaking through the Sifter, but continuing to draw those effects will pull Derczo significantly ahead. And he has to do this to keep up with the Nissa.
Yep, he passes the turn. Harlan will make 2 Thopters. But Derczo's still at a very healthy 15 life points. His draw was Elvish Visionary.
If this Visionary can find...
It's Beastcaller Savant, it doesn't draw cards.
That's less good. What he really wanted was just another Nissa here. So you could Anthem and then cast the other Nissa.
Yeah, that would be great.
Both players are just trying to Glorious Anthem. That's what this game is about right now.
Well, the most Glorious Anthems wins the game.
It turns out.
Maybe. So I think Harlan's going to go, he's going to lose his Planeswalker to put 1/1 counter on all his guys. He's going to just have to go for Derczo's life total. Derczo doesn't actually have flyers.
Yeah, being able to connect for 4 this turn is really big. It was definitely not a free decision to just give up the Nissa here.
So this would force Derczo to make Ormondal to gain life if he gets ahead enough. But there's a problem with the green-black tokens deck doesn't actually have any removal spells in the 75 for the 9/7.
Right. And there are 5 creatures now. not necessarily the 5 creatures you want to give up to make an Ormondal,
Right.
but the threshold has been achieved.
Yeah, you saw that. All the counters on the creatures there for Harlan, but no attacks. We go back over to Derczo. Last card in hand. Looks to be a 1-drop. It is. Looks like it's a Gossip Monger. Now we see that Westvale Abbey perhaps coming to play. Westvale Abbey, 1 main, 1 sideboard, all in this deck full of planes.
So with the no attack with the Thopters, I believe Fear really wants Derczo to just make this Ormondal.
And then he's going to try to race it, perhaps?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of creatures in play. It's possible that that works. And
Yeah, so now with the
Here we
Ormondal,
go, yeah.
with this activation, now Fear is going to pull the trigger on the natural state so that the Ormondal can't just attack with Vigilance.
And here, Ormondal, the Profane Prince. He trapped inside the Westvale Abbey, but no longer. He's the flying lifelink, indestructible haste 9/7. And a natural slate pre-combat on Always Watching. Yeah, well, that's fine. Derczo will attack. It's the 9/7 lifelinker. Harlan can chump block it, or he can take 9. If you're a Harlan Fear fan, it's inconvenient. He's at exactly 18. So that'll connect. Harlan will go to 9, Derczo to 24. Harlan has a lot of power in play. I don't know if he has 24 damage worth of creatures. He draws another natural slate.
Fear was a little bit outside of being able to top deck Nissa and make it lethal this turn, and for that reason I would have liked to have chump blocked the Ormondal on the previous turn, because the Declaration of Stone off the top would just be lights out from here. You'd be able to preserve life that way, where you can't against the top deck this way.
So the natural state in Harlan's hand actually has some value here. You see he swings out the team. He can block Ormondal and kill his own creature to deny lifelink to Derczo. Now, I don't know if he has enough damage to win on a second attack. You see he gets Derczo down to 13.
I think he's just outside of being able to, especially with the
it's
Lieutenant
close,
to jump.
though.
Right.
If Derczo screws up and swings the Council's Lieutenant here, then there's a chance.
There was just no way that attack was going to happen, but yeah, that is what he needed.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just Ormondal. Once again, Harlan is going to block and not even use the natural state. So Derczo back up to 22. And may just be pulling out of range. 9/7 lifelink is so huge.
And with that Foundry of the Councils being a one of, the only thing left is to chump block the Ormondal one more time.
Well, here's an interesting one. So a swing of Catacomb Sifter. Harlan has enough mana to cast Hangerback Walker for 4 with all his creatures. He can then natural state his own Hangerback Walker to make a bevy of chump blockers here.
That's a good swing. I suppose another option that he has is to chump block with Dragonlord Atarka on a future turn.
Oh, that sounds so... chump block with Dragonlord Atarka. Why are we saying such things? Well, Derczo continuing to see the play, swinging just Ormondal. Here is a Thopter. Yeah, that's fine. We'll see whether he natural states immediately.
I would not.
Nope. He'll chump. Derczo, 26. The life points are going the wrong way if you're a Harlan Fear fan, but he has a chance, I think.
So I believe that Fear actually just kept a Westvale Abbey on the top of his deck.
Oh, wow. So he gets... Okay, all right.
So he's
And
actually...
It's Westvale Abbey of Fear's own.
So what's wild here is he can pump his Hangerback Walker, state it, and tap creatures to just sacrifice just those Thopter tokens to make Ormondale, or like keep a bunch of creatures in play.
Westvale Abbey of his own, and now we have competing princes. And what happened? Both times have a 9/7 indestructible lifelink flyer in play. We're going to find out.
Yeah, this is very new to me.
So I guess Derczo actually has removal in his deck for Ormondal, unlike Fear. So I think advantage still goes to Derczo.
Definitely important to note that Declaration in
Don't
Stone
Don't do it.
does not hit your own copy. It only gets rid of the opposing Ormondal.
It's not Maelstrom Pulse? Oh. Yeah, all because its controller has it. Wow, just
It also happens that
save me
Ormondal,
from myself, Wizards. Why don't you?
they don't make a lot of 9/7s that you can silk wrap, but Ormondal happens to be one of them.
All right, so Hangerback goes to 5 on this attack. And now we'll see just where Harlan wants to go with this. He's going to tap for 5 mana, sacrifice the team to make Ormondal. He gets a lot of scry triggers here.
Yes.
What's he looking for then?
So a big hit would be another Nissa to make the team huge, and you have your Omendal and your Thopters. Something you might want is just an Atarka to clean up that Council's Lieutenant and just have another giant body in play.
Yeah, he scries all those scries to the bottom.
Both players will soon be gaining plenty of life.
And a block, so a lot of life points. Both for the foreseeable future, players will be at healthy life totals. Of note, 4 minutes 30 seconds remaining in the round. And what I draw from Harlan after all those scries, all his scries were actually to the bottom there, but now he draws Nissa, Voice of Zendikar.
What's better than a 9/7 flying indestructible lifelink creature?
10/8 flying indestructible lifelink creature, perhaps.
Good guess. I'm going to go with that.
Well, it doesn't actually matter which one's bigger. They're indestructible.
The lifelink, you do get to pull ahead and make swings that ever so slightly matter more than your opponents.
Oh gosh, that's gross. So here's the team. Counter on 5 Thopter tokens and an Ormondal, so this is a swing for 20.
Not to mention that these Thopters attack for 10 on their own.
Derczo will go to 15, Harlan will go to 28.
Now Derczo needs running exile removal spells, and one of them has to be Declaration in Stone.
Well, he can leave back his own Ormondal, and then maybe we just stare at each other for a while.
Right, you can block, though. Your ability to actually win the game just diminishes as time passes.
I suppose he can slowly eat the Thopter tokens and take some damage. He plays Thraben Inspector and draws a card off the Clue token. No help yet for Derczo. He's looking for Declaration Stone or Stasis Snare here.
He does get the
Or
free
Silk Wrap.
roll. He does get the free roll killing the Nissa, which is about the one good thing going for him here.
Yeah, he can get a counter for his Council's Lieutenant if he wants. I mean, his ground creatures are free to do whatever. He also has a Kythian in play, so he can flip that into a Planeswalker to try to have better control over this game. So there are plays here for Derczo.
Yeah, it's not over yet.
Yeah, so he's actually going to swing everything, including the Ormondal. And maybe that one's staying on. Before it was only Ormondal, now it's everyone but Ormondal. So it appears to be 7 damage. Some amount of that will go at Harlan, some at Nissa.
Yeah, blocking with Ormondal is definitely a stronger proposition than attacking with Ormondal here, because you get to at least eat a Thopter for your trouble, or soak up 10 damage as opposed to gaining 9 life on its own.
I suppose in the damage race, it only kind of matters right now. I mean, if the Ormondals are blocking each other, then both life totals are just going to balloon up to really big numbers.
Right, but Derczo is at 15. And
right. Well,
you're gaining 10 more life by jumping in front of Ormondal.
Right, I mean, if Ormondals are attacking each other, then their life totals will go down. If the Ormondals are attacking players, if the Ormondals are hitting each other in combat, then life totals are just going to go up.
Right, and Derczo definitely prefers to be in the situation where they're attacking into each other.
He'd like the life totals to be high. Harlan would like them to be low.
Right.
So Gideon will flip into Gideon Battleforged. The Planeswalker on the board is going to insist that creatures attack it, and another copy of Nissa from Fear could not have come at a better time.
Did he just tap Ormondal for mana?
Well, he didn't want. Okay, so Ormondal could have had to attack this turn.
Yeah.
So Harlan's tapping it for mana. Okay.
I think I would rather just gain the life and attack with it, but it's pretty.
No, I get it.
It's a pretty stylish line.
Yeah, I understand it. We go back over to Derczo. 1 minute remaining in the round. Can he find that kill spell? Now there's this army of Thopters, too. It's just, I mean, if he removes the Ormondal, Derzo's still likely the favorite. But things are getting tougher. Looks like he may have an always watching. That would be big, actually.
Ormondal with Vigilance does favor him in this, keeping the life totals high.
So here's
game.
an always watching. Now remember, Harlan has one card left in his hand, and it's a natural state. Gideon will once again insist that the tapped Ormondal attack. Oh, here's a removal spell of natural state for the always watching. No vigilance for the lifelinker. And maybe some ground attacks. Oh, he needs to get that Niz off the board, right?
I'm not feeling confident that these players will be able to finish this match.
Here's a swing. Council's Lieutenant and Knight of the White Orchid. With these Thopters, Harlan can actually kill these attackers to save his own Nissa.
Right.
And I assume he will.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see just that happening.
Well, the attack was just at Harlan, Nissa being ignored. So we have hit time in the round. Turn 0 is Derczo's. He plays another Kithian post-combat, and we pass back. This is turn 1 for Harlan Fear. Ormondal, once again, he's just going to tap for mana. Ooh, looks like he's drawn something. It's Dragonlord Atarka. Haymakers continue to rain off the top of the deck for Harlan.
A formidable chump blocker for Ormondal, if I ever did see one.
3 and 2. Derczo loses both his creatures. Nissa goes up to make a plant token. Harlan, so I believe what he's trying to do is he's trying to set up for a lethal attack on turn 5 of extra turns.
I think that a lot of what's happening with this tapping this Ormondal is trying to get Derczo to attack with his own so that he can attack back for a lot.
Well, as long as he keeps the life totals low, then he has a chance to one-shot Derczo, right?
Right.
And that's why he's doing it, because of one block and suddenly Derzo's at 24.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the amount of power here. So if Ormondals block each other, Derzo's at a virtual 24. If you look at Harlan Fear's creatures in play, he has 23 power worth of unblocked creatures. He's 1 point away from being able to kill Derczo through this Ormondal.
That's wild.
And he has Nissa in play with 2 counters. I think Harlan can do this.
I'd like to see it happen.
Now he's saying Atarka must attack. If Michael does not kill the Nissa this turn and has nothing in hand, Town Gossipmonger's not going to do it. If Harlan just plays this as it lies on the board, Michael empty-handed, I think he knows it.
Yeah, he was reaching for the Nissa there. Now he's reaching to tap Atarka.
He was gonna make mana. He said, wait, you might be dead.
There it is. He's reaching for the Nissa.
Nissa puts a counter, everything. So if you look at it, if Ormondals block each other, Michael will go to 24, but there is actually, So Michael will go to 24. If you look at these 6 Thopters deal 18, Atarka deals 9 more. Well, Atarka has to attack Gideon here.
Harlan did just play a Westphal Abbey. I don't think the math checks out, whereas I think it's actually less damage if you sacrifice creatures with them getting into combat with Ormondal.
Well, hold on. It might be... No, it's better, though. Harlan, before damage, can sacrifice... If he had enough mana, he could sacrifice some creatures to Westphal Abbey to... He can deny the life gain.
You sacrifice Atarka, plant, and then it would be 3 Thopters.
And that denies the life gain. So sacrificing 3 Thopters is minus 12, right?
Right, so you still have 8 plus Ormondal. That's 20 damage still coming in. That's higher than 15.
So if Ormondal blocks Atarka, and Atarka was attacking Gideon, this is 12. This is 30 damage. This is dead.
This is lethal one way or the other. That's just an option that he has on top of it if he had to get clever.
Michael has not declared blockers that he's trying something out. He says, no matter which way I do this, I die. And that's going to be the concession and the match for Harlan Fear.